Hello everyone and welcome to Eurofever Garage. I'm your host Donovan and today with me is the 2013 BMW 128i. Come along with me today as I show you around the modern classic that is the BMW 1 Series.
In the early 2000s, what's now looked back on as BMW's golden era, they were on top of their game in terms of driver engagement, quality, and technology. I mean, how could you disagree? They had the agile E46 M3, the powerful and muscular E39 M5, the sporty and luxurious E38 7 Series, and the beautiful E52 Z8 Roadster. Around 2004, BMW sought to replace its E46 platform, and for the 3 Series Compact, there was a growing demand for premium compact vehicles. What came to fruition was the first generation of the 1 Series, a quick, agile, practical, yet sporty platform. This allowed it to establish itself quickly as a top performer in its class, offering impressive driving dynamics and an exceptional level of standard equipment compared to other manufacturers' offerings at the time. Just like the 3 Series before it, the 1 Series had a wide range of engines and trims to select from. You could choose from a 3-door or a 5-door hatchback, a coupe, or convertible with gasoline and diesel-powered engines ranging from a 114 horsepower 1.6-liter naturally aspirated inline-4 all the way up to a 3-liter twin-turbo 6-cylinder with 305 horsepower. The 1 Series was truly a car for anyone and everyone who wanted a BMW. It wasn't until 2008 that the 1 Series platform came over to the US. Like many BMWs before, we only got a limited selection compared to the full range of the European market. In the US, we got the E82 Coupe and E88 Convertible. At launch, we had the 128i with the N51 or N52 engine, or the 135i with the N54 engine. Around 2011, BMW had the LCI update, or Lifecycle Impulse, BMW's name for the mid-cycle refresh, and this introduced a plethora of new changes for the platform. This included the launch of the now-renowned 1M, the new N55 engine and dual-clutch transmission in the 35i, a special edition 135IS with a tuned N55, an updated CIC iDrive infotainment screen, new updated headlights and LED taillights, and other minor revisions for the interior.
So today I'd like to show you around the BMW 1 Series, more specifically my girlfriend's 1 Series, and show you why we thought it was the perfect car for a daily driver like her and a BMW enthusiast like me. So a little bit of backstory on this car in particular. It was about October 2021, and we were looking for a car for my girlfriend to get from our apartment to school. And being in a city, you don't want something that's really big. Even sedans are starting to get a little tight around here. One thing that sort of came to me one day is, what about the BMW 1 Series? You know, it's a unique car. I'm familiar with the platform, being a European car enthusiast. As I was searching through Facebook Marketplace and OfferUp, I came across this one in California. Spoke with the previous owner, and he was the second owner after the previous owner had traded it in. He had owned it for about a year and a half from late 2019 up until 2021, and it was his wife's car. His wife decided she wanted a new car, and she actually wanted to go for a BMW i3, which I thought was pretty interesting. Nonetheless, December 11th comes around. We head towards LAX at 5 in the morning, and by 9 o'clock we get picked up by the previous owner and talk a little bit, drive around the car, and sign the paperwork. So just like that, we had bought ourselves a car 1,400 miles away from home, not knowing 100% the mechanical condition of the car, and with a little bit of luck and a lot of driving at night, we got home after about 26 hours, stopping in Tucson for the night and getting back to Texas about 1 in the morning. And this is how we knew it was the car for us, because it was exactly what we were looking for, and my girlfriend, she loved it, and I love it. People talk about it with me all the time when we go to Cars and Coffee. So a little bit more about this car in particular. This is equipped with the N51 SULEV engine. Without going into further detail, it is US emissions regulations for certain states that have stricter emissions regulations, and what that basically means is that there's a couple more emissions parts inside the engine bay, there's a second catalytic converter in the exhaust, and other couple bits here and there just to ensure that our emissions are as low as possible. Now this car was equipped with the M Sport package. It is black on black, so this is carbon Schwartz metallic, and it has black Sensatec leather. They switched from Dakota to Sensatec, which is their leatherette vinyl style leather. So it's got the M Sport bucket seats, M Sport steering wheel, M Sport wheels, M Sport aero all around, and a couple other bits with the suspension and the sway bars. This was also equipped with the technology and cold weather package, so that means it's got the infotainment iDrive screen. It's also got heated seats and the smoker's package, so it's got the extra 12-volt socket in the center console. The one thing that I like that distinguishes the 1 Series over the E90, and more specifically the E92 Coupe, is that it's got much more pronounced arches, not only in the front, but especially in the rear. Now, the 1M has even more pronounced haunches in the rear. You know, it makes the car look really, really race car, but on this car, it looks a little bit more natural, but still very, very sporty. Another part of the M Sport package are the M Sport wheels. Now, these are style 207s, so these are 17s. The 1 Series had a range from 16 to 18s. The IS had the 18s with some more of the base trims having the 16s. This has 7-inch fronts and 7.5-inch rears. These were originally wrapped in Bridgestone drive guard run flats, which really weren't that great to ride on, but seeing as that a lot of BMWs at the time didn't have any spares, you kind of have to do run flats. We've since switched to Continental's Extreme Contact DWS 06 Plus in a 225/45 square setup. Much more compliant ride, a lot better grip, overall just a much better tire, and I think it fits the car's driving style a little bit better. So here we are now in the cabin where we spend most of our time, and at first glance you wouldn't really be able to tell that this is an older BMW other than the infotainment screen being a few generations old. At the center of it all is the M Sport steering wheel, and this steering wheel feels really great because it's got perforated leather and it's got the multifunction buttons not too far away. Another thing to note is that if you compare the 135 or 1M versus the 128i, it's one of the only BMWs at the time without a coolant or oil temperature gauge. Taking a look at the center, you've got the climate controls and iDrive knob, and nothing really unique here, but one thing that's cool to see is that it does have the touch-sensitive slide-over feature, where if you're dragging your fingers over the presets, it'll highlight at the top of the screen what they are. Something else to note here about the center console is that there were 2 versions of it, one with a large center console and one which was referred to as the iPod console, which has an iPod holder drilled underneath, as well as a removable placeholder for the charger to stand in. The M Sport seats, which have adjustable bolsters and thigh support, are great to sit in, and having the extra heated functionality is a blessing when we have these cold freezes down here in Texas. Taking a look at the infotainment screen, it's got everything you could need when checking out your car. It is limited on functionality as you cannot tell the pressure of your tires, but it will tell you when they're low and it can measure your oil levels. It has a great trip computer that can tell you how far you've gone, your miles per gallon, how far you have left, and it's able to connect with your phone via Bluetooth or aux. The car also came with the smoker's package, as I mentioned earlier, which adds an additional cigarette lighter here in the center. If you didn't have that, it would just be a cubby. Taking a look in the back, and you notice that there really isn't much back here. All you get is a simple overhead light and some cubbies in the middle to store your stuff. Unfortunately, there's no armrest here, and in the convertible, this actually comes out and allows you to do ski pass-throughs or any other longer items you wish to transport. Some of the other quality of life packages that you could have gotten were parking distance control, comfort access, which allowed you to fold up the side mirrors and get in and out of the car without the key, as well as xenon headlamps. So 135s came with this as standard, but the 128s had to get it as an option. Moving to the trunk, you can clearly see that it's smaller than the E92, but it's by no means cramped. Seeing that it's only my girlfriend and I, we don't really find ourselves in a lot of situations where we need to transport a lot of stuff or people, but we can always push the seats down and get more room if we need. One thing that's common for this era is having the battery in the back to help with the 50-50 weight distribution. This car came with run flats, and since it doesn't come with a spare, the battery sits under the trunk floor here. Another unique thing back here is that you have easy access to the bulbs if you take off these little plastic pieces right here hiding the housing. And there you have it, the BMW E82 1 Series. What's often heralded as the modern E30, this car truly is a car for people who just want a daily driver and something sporty for the weekend back roads. The car is great for those who really want something with some modern creature comforts without sacrificing the ride quality, the driving feel, or the gas mileage of modern cars. As a result, a lot of people are flocking to this car as one of the last true BMW driver's cars, and trying to find one in today's market is trying to find a needle in a haystack for a good one. If you take any look at Bring a Trailer or Cars and Bids or Car Gurus, you'll see that any sort of the 135s with a 6-speed easily go for $20,000 for good examples. In order to find one in today's market, you really have to know what you're looking for. If you're looking for a cheap 6-speed, I would suggest looking for the pre-LCI 128s post 2008 after they had their lifter issue solved. If you really want to go for the LCI for more of the creature comforts such as the updated iDrive infotainment, 2011 to 2012 will be a decent price for 128s. But if you're really looking for a raw, powerful, fast car, N55 dual clutch transmissions will easily go for $20,000 to $30,000 for a good example. We got this car in December 2021 for $11,000, just under 100,000 miles. And this is a last year M Sport with all of the packages minus the xenon headlamps and parking distance control. But those are things that you can retrofit yourselves. And that's what's so great about the BMW aftermarket. There's a lot of aftermarket solutions for stuff if you don't have the packages you need. So I suggest finding anything that has most of what you need, establish what are your needs and what are your wants. For us, that was the M Sport package and the M Sport seats, especially with the heated seats, the infotainment screen, and being an LCI to have some of the extra little bits that modernize the car. And so that's a little bit about my car. Rather than talking about what it's like to drive, why don't I just take you out on the road and what it feels like to drive a 2013 BMW 1 Series. So, welcome inside the BMW 1 Series. I feel like I'm on a broken record when I say that, but it is what it is, and I'm in a 1 Series. So, I'm taking you all on my daily commute to pick up my girlfriend. Funny enough, this is her car, but I end up driving it the most because I drop her off at school. Now, my daily commute is quite short. It's about 16 miles total, 8 miles there, 8 miles back. A little bit of highway, a little bit of street driving. Although being on I-35, it ends up being all stop and go traffic regardless. The one thing we looked for when we were trying to find specifically the 1 Series is that we wanted an automatic. It does have a sport mode, which just essentially allows it to hang gears longer, so rather than shifting at 3,000 RPM, it'll shift, whenever you want it to, basically. You can also do manual mode with the paddle shifters, which is nice. Other daily driver functionality, so heating and cooling works, heated seats work, navigation's great. We end up using our phones more often. I did update the maps, but it is just easier. It's more user-friendly to do Apple CarPlay, hence why we have the phone holder. Like I mentioned, with this having the M Sport package, the steering wheel is really, really great. It feels super sporty. It's nice and thick. The little thinner ones of the early 2000s, that felt very light and not very good to drive hard on. This one, you get a lot of good feedback, being that the car has hydraulic steering rather than electronic steering like the F generation does. Basically what that means is that instead of using electrically amplified power steering, it uses a hydraulic fluid through the pump to give you assisted steering. As a result, it's a lot heavier feeling, so I will say for a daily driver, if that's something that will annoy you, then it might not be worth going for this generation, because the steering does get, a little heavy sometimes. That's something that I really, really like, but some people might not. Comparing this to my car, which is an F32 4 Series, you can definitely tell the difference in the size, even just on a daily driver usage. This has a naturally aspirated six-cylinder up front and rear-wheel drive, while my car is a turbo 4-cylinder with all-wheel drive. One thing that you can really tell is when you're starting to take turns. My car is a lot heavier. It understeers a little bit, though not much anymore because I've done some suspension mods to improve it. But this car is extremely balanced. I always compliment that when I'm comparing it to my car. It feels like this thing is, you can turn on a dime. From the lens of a daily driver, this car is really comfortable. The heated seats, the thigh bolsters, you just feel very encapsulated. You get that BMW quality for a entry-level luxury vehicle. This isn't as insulated as the 5 or 7 series, but as you can hear, it's not super loud. There is some wind noise when you're at higher speeds around 80 miles an hour, but that's just inherent of most vehicles, especially vehicles with frameless windows. So again, with ownership of this car, there are things that you'll always have to look out for. This car had your most standard, stereotypical leaks, oil filter housing gasket, oil pan, valve cover. I was able to tackle the valve cover and oil pan myself. After further inspection, we realized the oil filter housing gasket wasn't leaking, it was just dirty. I also have done I've done pretty much 90% of the work myself. I've done brake fluid, power steering reservoir and fluid flush. I do my own oil changes. I've done the sway bar end links. On my car, I'll go into further detail when I do a video on that, but I've done suspension work on my car, so I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty, and really there's only a few jobs that I wouldn't do myself. And I think that's what's really good about this platform is if you are a younger enthusiast or someone who wants to become a DIYer, this car for a European enthusiast will really be able to get their hands dirty. And like I mentioned in the review, the aftermarket support is really strong. So if there's something you need to replace, you know, you've got FCP Euro, Real OEM, you've got the forum boards. There's no shortage of information that you can find on these vehicles. What you'll notice throughout this video is that the video footage is a little shaky, and the reason for that is the M Sport suspension. The stiffer suspension doesn't really do well with translating the bumps into the vehicle. On my F32, I recently switched out the suspension for Koni Special Active. Now these have a twin shock design that help reduce the harshness of sudden changes such as dips, divots, potholes, such like that, and it helps translate that energy much more linearly, and it keeps the car composed. So if that's something that you're really worried about on a daily comfort use, I would highly suggest switching those out. The M Sport suspension is a little bit stiffer than most people would probably like, but if you are going to track the car, you're probably going to end up switching the suspension anyways. So it's one of those things that it's like it's good until you change it, but it'll be better once you do. And I think this car has great out-of-the-box performance that unless you really want to change something, you can just live with it as is. So if you're a BMW enthusiast who's looking for a small, nimble, and powerful car, the E82 and E88 1 Series are excellent choices. My name's Donovan. Thank you for watching, and until next time.